of 1954, a 51-year-old New Zealander on a small coral atoll in the middle of the Pacific Ocean threw an anchor over the side of his boat. He twisted as he threw. Something in his lower back gave way. He could not stand. He could not walk. He could not crawl back to his hut, which was on the opposite side of the atoll. There was no radio. There was no scheduled boat. There was no human being on Earth who knew he was injured. The nearest inhabited island was 200 miles away across open water. The nearest hospital was 800 miles further than that. The man on the beach was named Tom Neale, and he had been alone on this atoll for 19 months. He was going to have to survive on the sand until either his body recovered enough to move, or he died. He lay semi-paralyzed for 4 days. What happened next was one of the most improbable rescues in the modern history of Pacific solitude. A yacht happened to put in at the atoll on the 4th day. The crew did not know Tom Neale existed. They found him in pain. They nursed him back to health, and they took him home to Rarotonga so he could prepare to come back. Because here is what almost nobody outside of the Pacific knows about Tom Neale. The 4 days on the beach did not end his time on this atoll. They started it. Over the next 23 years, he would return to the same patch of coral and palm trees twice more. He would live there alone for a total of 16 years across 3 separate stays. He would write a book about it that has never gone out of print, and when stomach cancer finally took him at the age of 75, the last thing he wanted in the world was to be back on his island. This is the story of the man who chose the loneliest place in the Pacific Ocean, and stayed there until it killed him. Before we get to the 4 days on the beach and the 16 years that followed, we have to understand how a New Zealand storekeeper ended up alone on a Pacific atoll in the first place. Because Tom Neale did not get lost at sea, he did not shipwreck. He paid for the trip himself and watched the boat sail away. The storekeeper's secret obsession, Tom Neale was born in Wellington, New Zealand on November 6, 1902. His family moved to Greymouth shortly after he was born, then to Timaru when he was 7. He grew up in small New Zealand towns. He joined the Royal New Zealand Navy as a young man. At 18, he was considered too old to begin training as an apprentice seaman, so he signed on as an apprentice engineer instead. He spent the next 4 years traveling the Pacific Islands on naval vessels. He then bought himself out of the Navy. He wanted independence. He wanted the freedom to see the islands without an officer above him telling him what to do. For the next 2 decades, Neale lived a quiet life in the Cook Islands and French Polynesia. He worked as a storekeeper in Rarotonga and as a trader between the smaller islands. He was reading constantly. He was watching the world around him. He was, by every account, a man who did not quite fit into the modern century he had been born into. Then he read a book. The American writer Robert Dean Frisbee had published an account of an uninhabited atoll in the northern Cook Islands called Suwarrow. Frisbee had lived there briefly with his children during the 1942 cyclone season. The book was called The Island of Desire. Neale read it. He could not stop thinking about it. From that point on, Tom Neale had one goal. He wanted to live on Suwarrow alone. It took him 7 more years to figure out how. In 1952, an acquaintance who owned a trading schooner agreed to drop him off at Suwarrow if Neale would pay $30 to cover the cost of the detour. Neale agreed. He had 2 weeks to prepare. He had £49 in total savings to spend on supplies that would have to last him indefinitely. He bought tools, seeds, fishing gear, books, kerosene, and basic provisions. He packed 2 cats and a few chickens. He stepped onto the schooner, and on October 7, 1952, the Harambe dropped him on the largest islet of Suwarrow Atoll, a piece of land called Anchorage Island, and sailed away. So what exactly is Suwarrow, and why was it a place no human being lived? The answer is that Suwarrow is one of the smallest, most isolated, and most dangerous atolls in the entire South Pacific. It is the kind of place every other Pacific sailor of his generation had heard of, and quietly written off as unlivable. Tom Neale had picked the one piece of land in the ocean that nobody else wanted. The atoll at the edge of the world. Suwarrow sits approximately 900 kilometers north-northwest of Rarotonga, the Cook Islands capital. It is a coral atoll, which means it is a ring of small, low-lying islets enclosing a central lagoon. The lagoon is roughly 17 kilometers across. The total land area is approximately 40 hectares, spread across more than 20 separate islands, most of them too small to live on. Anchorage Island, where Neale settled, is the largest of those islets. It is roughly half a mile long and 300 yards wide. The atoll is regularly battered by cyclones. The 1942 storm that Robert Dean Frisbee had survived with his children washed away 16 of the 22 islands in the atoll. Frisbee had lashed his children high in tamanu trees to keep them alive as the water rose. There is no fresh water source other than rain. There is no soil deep enough for serious agriculture. There are coconut palms, seabirds, fish in the lagoon, feral pigs left over from previous brief inhabitants, and very little else. The atoll had been used briefly as a coast watcher station during the Second World War. The watchers had left in 1945. The hut they had built on Anchorage Island was still standing when Neale arrived in 1952, along with 2 wartime water tanks. That hut became his home. Within months of his arrival, Neale had cleared overgrown garden plots, repaired the hut, built a chicken coop, and established a daily routine. He fished the lagoon every morning. He gathered coconuts. He tended the garden. For 4 days on the beach, Tom Neale was injured on the far side of the atoll, away from his hut on Anchorage Island. He had been working with his small boat. The exact mechanics of the injury were straightforward. He twisted as he threw the anchor. A muscle in his lower back tore. The pain was immediate and severe. His legs partially gave out beneath him. He could not stand. He could not walk. He had no way to call for help. He spent the next 4 days lying in the open near where he had been injured. He drank rainwater that he could reach. He ate coconuts that had fallen within throwing distance. He slept on the sand. He waited for his back to recover enough that he could begin the journey back to the hut. According to his autobiography, he had nearly given up hope of survival when a small yacht appeared on the horizon and put in at the atoll. The couple aboard had not known Tom Neale existed. They had stopped at Suwarrow simply because passing yachts sometimes did. They found him in pain near the beach. They nursed him for several days until he was stable enough to be moved. Then, they took him back to Rarotonga. He was evacuated on June 24, 1954. His first stay on Suwarrow had lasted approximately 21 months. He did not want to leave. The Cook Islands government in Rarotonga refused to let him return immediately. They did not want to be responsible for him if he was injured again with no way to be rescued. Neale spent the next 6 years working as a storekeeper in Rarotonga, planning his return. He married a woman named Sarah Hawa in June 1956. They had 2 children, a son named Arthur and a daughter named Stella. But he was, in his own description, constantly irritated by the modern world. He was thinking about the atoll every day. In April 1960, he finally got permission to return. Tom Neale's second stay on Suwarrow lasted almost 4 years. It was the period he later described as his happiest. It was also the period during which a British author would visit him, write about him, and turn him from a private hermit into one of the most famous voluntary recluses in the English-speaking world. The book that built his legend. On April 23, 1960, Tom Neale stepped back onto Anchorage Island. He was 57 years old. He had brought significantly more supplies this time. He had learned from his first stay exactly what he would need. He rebuilt the hut. He fixed the leaking roof. He installed a new wood-burning stove. He built a brick fireplace. He expanded the chicken coop. By 1963, he had grown his flock to approximately 40 birds. He had 2 new cats. He named one of them Mrs. Thievery. The second stay produced something the first had not. Word about Tom Neale had begun to spread. The British author, Noel Barber, had heard about him through a report from the United States Navy, whose ships occasionally passed near Suwarrow. Barber chartered a boat and made the long journey north from Tahiti specifically to meet him. The 2 men spent several days together on Anchorage Island. Barber returned to civilization with a story that he would later help Neale turn into a book. That book is called An Island to Oneself. It was first published by William Collins in 1966. It documented Neale's first 2 stays on Suwarrow in close, daily detail. It became an international bestseller. It has been reprinted continuously for 60 years. It is one of the most quoted texts in the entire literature of voluntary solitude. One of the most repeated lines from the book is the sentence that explains everything about why Neale chose the atoll. I chose to live in the Pacific Islands because life there moves at the sort of pace which you feel God must have had in mind originally when he made the sun to keep us warm and provided the fruits of the earth for the taking. The second stay ended on December 27, 1963. Neale left because a group of Manihiki pearl divers had begun making periodic visits to Suwarrow's lagoon to harvest pearls. He could not bear the disruption. He preferred death on an empty island to the company of other men. He returned to Rarotonga on January 7, 1964. So, if he hated the modern world, why did he stay in Rarotonga for the next 3.5 years before returning to the atoll? The answer is that the book sales had given him something he had never had before. Money. And the money allowed him to plan a third stay that would last longer and be better supplied than anything he had attempted before. He was 65 years old when he stepped back onto Anchorage Island in June 1967. He would stay there for the next 10 years. The last island. Tom Neale returned to Suwarrow for the third time in June 1967. He was now an internationally known figure. He had a published book. Sailing yachts from across the Pacific routinely diverted hundreds of miles out of their way, specifically to anchor at Suwarrow and meet him. He hated most of the visitors. He tolerated a few. The French sailor and author Bernard Moitessier became a friend. For 10 years he lived on Anchorage Island almost entirely alone, with occasional brief disturbances from yacht crews who would stay a few nights and move on. He fished the lagoon. He tended his garden. He raised his chickens. He swept the hut every day. He continued to keep his journal in the same careful nib pen handwriting he had used in 1952. In 1977, he was found by a visiting yacht crew suffering from advanced stomach cancer. He was evacuated to Rarotonga. He received treatment from a Czech-born doctor named Milan Brish. He survived for approximately 8 more months. Tom Neale died on November 27, 1977. He was 75 years old. His daughter Stella wrote later about the last time he had left for Suwarrow when she was 9 years old. She had run to the wharf with her brother Arthur to say goodbye. She remembered his mouth moving but not hearing the words. She had nodded and tried not to sob. He was buried in the RSA cemetery in Avarua, Rarotonga, opposite the airport. The Cook Islands government formally designated the Suwarrow Atoll as the country's first national park in 1978, 1 year after Neale's death. In October 1952, a New Zealand storekeeper paid $30 to be dropped off on the loneliest piece of coral in the South Pacific. He had 2 cats. He had 49 pounds in supplies. He had a wartime hut with a leaking roof. He had no return ticket. He had no way to call for help. The nearest inhabited island was 200 miles away. The nearest hospital was 800 miles past that. He stayed for 21 months until a back injury nearly killed him. He came back in 1960 and stayed for almost 4 years until a group of pearl divers spoiled the silence. He came back again in 1967 and stayed for 10 years until cancer pulled him off the island for the last time. Across 3 voluntary stays on a single piece of land at the edge of the world, Tom Neale spent 16 years of his life completely alone. He cooked his meals on a wood stove. He swept his hut every morning. He fished the lagoon. He drank tea every afternoon. He wrote a book that made him internationally famous and that he was deeply ambivalent about because fame brought visitors and visitors interrupted the silence he had paid $30 to find. He died in Rarotonga in 1977, wanting to be back on Anchorage Island. He never got there again. A man who had been a storekeeper and a sailor decided in middle age that he could not bear another year of the modern world. He paid a tradesman to take him to an empty island. He lived there alone for 16 years. He nearly died on a beach for 4 days. He came back twice anyway. His book is still in print. The atoll is now a Cook Islands National Park. The monument to him still stands on Anchorage Island. And every year, a small number of yacht crews crossing the Pacific divert hundreds of miles out of their way, specifically to anchor at Suwarrow, walk up the beach, and stand in the place where Tom Neale once lived. He chose his solitude. He fought for it. He nearly died inside it. He returned to it as often as he was able to, and in the end he was buried hundreds of miles from the only place he had ever really wanted to be. If this story stayed with you, like, share, and subscribe. We tell the stories of the people who chose to disappear and the ones who refused to be found. Drop a comment and tell me what you think. After everything you have heard, could you have stayed on that atoll for 16 years? I read every single one. See you in the next one.